pretty confident this repair is gonna last. So I can get you guys in here, you can kind of see what we got going on. Welded up really nice. A little dirtier on this side. Got a little bit of contaminants in it and around there. No big deal. Pretty much just surface stuff where it floated up to the top on the puddle. So we'll go in there and we'll clean that up. We'll grind it back off. Fill any low spots. But we got really good penetration. I haven't seen any cracks forming yet, so that's good. Before we go any further, I need to get this handle straightened out. Just going to clamp it up, put a little heat here, and bend it back. Alright, that didn't take much. Just kind of eyeballing it down here to where the bend kind of first starts on that flat bar. About in there. Square it up. Looks pretty good. Okay, that looks pretty good. I think I gotta flip it over here and give it a little tweak on that end. A lot better than it used to be. And meanwhile, we got our hatch all cleaned up, ready to cut the top plate on it. Cleaned up really nice. I just got a spot where that hole was drilled through, where the yoke was mounted. Rest of it's maybe just a couple little spots where it had some contamination in there. So yeah, I guess the next thing that I'm going to do here is take this piece of scrap right here, and I'm gonna hole saw a plug this size to put in there, and then I'll drill through and get a mark, and then I'll cut a hole slightly bigger than the lip of this seal, and then I can weld it to the new plug that we put in there, and we'll weld it all the way around there and create a nice watertight part, and that will recess this also. Okay, before I cut this all the way through, I'm going to go ahead and cut out a center hole for my seal. It'll be easier to do it now while we have this held down, and we've got a groove now for this larger hole saw to follow anyways, so that won't be a problem to finish that cut. Okay guys, well, I kind of reset here. I didn't like the way this was turning out with this ring in here. There was just too much contamination and porosity in these sidewalls right here to tie this in good. I probably should have beveled this back because this ring was a little bit small for the hole that it needed to go into. So when I was welding this in, I did build up this wall over here. It's a little bit rough right now, but just from cutting that ring back out. But it built up really nice and it'll clean up good. And so what I'm doing basically is just going over here and just laying in a layer of fresh filler on top of this old stuff. It's bonding well. It just takes a little bit of time to work it in, and you just add filler, and this porosity just kind of rises to the top and out. You can kind of see an example right here. That's what it looks like. Once that's ground down, all that surface contaminants will come off and basically end up with something like this. So that still looks pretty rough. That was just a quick grind on it to knock down the high spots. I still got to come back in and fill some spots, but this is all metal that's been added right here. It's probably about a 1/4 inch on that face, and so that'll work good. We'll clean up our ring. It'll fit in there a lot better when we're done. It should be nice and tight. And probably bevel that edge back a little bit too. That's probably something that I should have done. So this side's all built up now. Coming over into this pocket right here. I didn't add any filler to that yet. I just used the cleaning action of the electrode to kind of burn some of the garbage out of there. Then I'll hit it with the grinder deburring tool. We're going to build that part up probably about a 1/4, 3/8 of an inch. We'll just bring it straight across and then we'll just blend it on the back side. This is the spot I done prior. Tied in the bottom part right there where it was low. And now I'm just building this up right here. I'll continue on to the end of that. Fill in the distance right there, and then we'll get this top edge and tie it into the top rim. Well, that's nearly got it. Just a little bit of fine tuning here. These surfaces are pretty well done. Just a couple low spots right up here on the rim, a couple down here. I'll just hit those again. This stuff I hadn't added any filler material to yet, so I'll do that now. I want to make a nice landing for the handle to stop against. Like I mentioned, we don't want the bead on the inside of that handle. We don't want it impacting that plastic seal. It'll destroy it relatively quickly. First time somebody stomps that handle down, it's done. And we'll take a hole saw and we'll start kind of put a little counter bore on there and then punch a hole through for our sleeve that the seal will go into. I added some material on these landings. I still need to clean up the inside of them a bit. See, these walls look real good now. So this is all new material in here, so when I go back in here and weld this, I won't have problems. No contaminants or porosity showing up. We'll also need to run a bead on the inside of this and build it up a little bit because it is a little bit bigger than my sealing gland here. That looks like a lot of material right there, but when I do this first initial weld, it'll bring it almost out to the edge of this anyways. Okay, so we have the hole drilled for the sleeve. That will receive this sealing gland right here that handle goes through. Next thing is we're going to trim this down. going to make it just a little bit longer than the length of the stainless that's showing right here, and that way if I ever need to replace it, it'll be easier to find something just similar size as a sealing gland and drop it into the part that's proud right here and press it out, and that'll get recessed down in the bore of that ring that we welded earlier, and that's going to give us the relief that we need for this plastic shoulder to be lower than the plate. Okay, I'm just going to get some get these parts squared up and cleaned up, and get my weld prepped on these, and then we'll glue them together, and at that point we're going to be starting to see the finish line here pretty soon, I think. I needed to reduce the diameter of this a little bit so it can ride inside of this bore right here. So it's just a little bit too tight right now. This needs a little bit of clearance. I was just going to remove the material on the inside of this. I thought I had plenty, but it turns out the sockets for this, there's not a whole lot of space on the other side, so I don't want to compromise it any. This is a expensive part here, so if I break it, then I just kind of end up throwing this one out. So we'll just reduce this. This is just acting as a guide in there more than anything. So there's not a bunch of slop between the sleeve that the seal will ride in. So I just welded a plug on the other side of that, stuck a bolt through up into the spindle and tightened it down, or into the chuck, I guess. And it's just double nutted there. And I'll just use my my grinder to turn it down. I'm going to put a more aggressive sanding disc on here. The bore off this mechanism here is actually a little bit smaller too, so hopefully it'll clear both now. There we go. That'll do it. So pretty simple setup. You can see I just tacked this plug on the bottom, just kind of eyeballed it, and stuck a short bolt through there. A couple of nuts on the end to lock it, and there we go. Okay guys, well, we got that sleeve welded in. Went in nice. Hopefully it's relatively square in relation to the hatch. I just kind of referenced off these two flats here, and then off of this part here, so should be good. Here's the other side. I still need to clean up these welds here. I'm just gonna hit them with the grinder, just radius them out really nice. These look pretty rough, kind of like these did. I was basically just welding the top of that tube, or that sleeve, into the, I guess it would have been like that first 1/2 inch plug that we put in there. So that's all tied in real good, and now I'll come back in here and I'll just open up that a little bit. I'll just cut down with a hole saw. So I'll take this 1.25 inch, and I'm just going to cut down a tiny little bit right there, just so I get enough depth into that. And then what I might do is, well, I'm going to have to find out a way. I need to build this up around here. Maybe I can cut a plug for the inside of that as a guide and stuff it in there, and then just use my pilot bit. But I'll basically build this up even, and then I'll come back in and I'll cut down on it, and that'll leave me a little shoulder in there for the sealing gland to press into. This project's turned out good so far, so couldn't be happier with how it turned out. It looks like we're gonna get a success out of this. These hatches can be awful hard to work on just because of the amount of corrosion and just the salt and corrosion and stuff gets inside the pores of the metal. And but we got pretty lucky here. We were able to clean it up enough. Next thing we need to do is we need to bore a little recess for the sleeve to go in there for our sealing gland. And so I just found a quick disconnect for a hose that fit in that hole good. I'll just use a hole saw to bore that out a little bit. Same size as a OD of this plastic here. So we just need to go down about a 1/4 inch, a little bit more, and we'll bore that down a bit. So this just kind of happens to slip right over the top of that. I think it'll work okay. We'll see here. Looks good. It's a little more cleanup there. And we'll get this piece trimmed and welded on. Perfect. Now we are just about to wrap up this project. These surfaces are all finished up, blended out, really happy. I think it's probably tight where the weld was. I don't think it needs much on this other side, but see, this is all finished up and blended in, welded in this outer pipe, and then ran a bead across the top.
Alright everyone, Dad did a welding project replacing this, I guess kind of just a sleeve here, which the seal goes into. So we're about to start assembling it now. For the most part, I need to get some nylocks that will hold the dogs down. But yeah, Dad did a pretty good job repairing this guy. So, I guess first order of business is installing the seal here. Flip this guy over. Got some acetone here. Not get it all over the plastic, just gonna wipe off the metal part here so that my silicone has a nice clean surface. I'll also wipe out the inside of the hole here. Got some silicone 2 here. Just gonna put a pretty healthy layer around this thing and probably also smear some into the hole there.
I don't think so.
Okay. I shall refrain from doing that. Okay. So there's a little O-ring on the inside of the seal here. We'll go ahead and put a little grease on it, grease up this shaft on the handle. Nice. Looks good.
It's so exciting.
Yeah. Got our, I don't know what you'd call it, dog cage maybe. Here. This comes apart into 2 pieces, and your dog's over there. The ball goes into these slots. So slip this guy down here. And I'm pretty sure it can part like that. So we got some grease here. I'll just go ahead and smear some grease over these ball ends.
Put some on this too.
On the inside, should I?
Yeah.
Okay.
On here, just a little bit. Either on that or whatever is fine.
Yeah. All the other parts of this hatch were in pretty good shape.
Mm-hmm.
Surprisingly. That would be closed because the handle is in the closed position.
Mm-hmm.
So,
It looks like it might actually work.
yeah, it has a nice smooth motion.
Yeah. I'm sure it wouldn't hurt to leave on those, huh? But yeah, looks good.
Always use plenty of never sees when you go stainless to aluminum.
Yeah, and I was actually worried about those bolts giving us a hard time, and they just came out.
Yeah,
Like, no problem at all.
we did. You're not using the never sees right if you don't get it everywhere.
Get all these goods everywhere.
Yep. So I'd use a ratchet, but you can't actually get a socket in here against this housing. So it's good old-fashioned open end box end. Okay, so I went ahead and took this housing back apart, spread some grease between the 2 layers just so it doesn't get full of gunk and stuff. Figure better have it in there than not. Nice and smooth now. Gonna go ahead and stick this key of sorts in. It slides in over the shaft right here and locks in this housing, which when you turn the handle on the other side actuates the dogs. So go ahead and put a bunch of never sees on this guy, so hopefully if we ever need to get apart again, which we will eventually, we'll be able to do so. Make a nice big mess. Oh yeah, going on pretty easy. Just gonna do a little dab of never sees on these studs here. Not going too crazy. The nylocs have to thread down a little bit, so and we just adjust them on the ring. So I'll just kind of engage the nylock and we'll put her down once we get the seal on and adjust the dogs then. Little nylock, and these are just a little nylon ring, I guess, with a metal keeper to keep the nut from tearing it up. That should be it.
So now you can kind of see, so the ring that's mounted on the deck goes underneath here, and that's where the dogs engage and compress this. As it's tightened, it compresses that, which compresses the gasket and makes a tight seal against the metal ring that's mounted permanently to the deck. So once we get the gasket reinstalled, the final thing to do is to adjust these, and basically somebody just goes down there with a flashlight, you lock them in, he tightens it up until it's easy to engage, it's not too hard to engage, and then you just blast the hatch with water and you can tighten this up until it stops leaking. That's the fun part. And then you just check to make sure that it's easy to open and close, and you should be good to go. Okay guys, well, this is what we got so far. Welding up pretty good. First one kind of had a lot of porosity, a lot of junk coming out of it. I think just the hydraulic fluid on the inside of the tank was weeping underneath and trying to come up, but see, just kind of these first welds right here, there's a lot of porosity there, but it's no big deal. I just knocked that down with the sand and disc, and then you can see where I came back in over it on the second round there, and it's welding up real nice. So it's the easiest way to kind of deal with it. You just hit it with the sand and disc and knock the garbage back off, and then come back in with some fresh rod and lay another pass on it. This area where I gouged it out right here, didn't really like that. I don't want a spot where a bunch of junk's gonna lay there and build up, so I just laid some filler rod in there, and then I'll do the same thing. I'll come back in there and knock that down, and I just stopped there. I'm trying to keep this part from getting too hot, so I'm gonna let this cool off a little bit. I'll grind this off real quick and then come back to it. Hopefully this you guys can see this okay. Hard to get a good shot. Okay guys, I just finished touching up these welds. We ground this all off and blended it out. Turned out real good. There was 2 ports right here, a port down here, and also one here. So those are all filled, welded out, blended out. Turned out real good. We added a port right here for a sight glass, and we also relocated the return line up higher, and it's got a drop tube on it now. So that turned out real good. Super happy with the results. These welded up real nice right here. And so I think we're about done with this. We just need to clean it up a little bit, give a little wire wheel here and there, a couple of rusty spots, get some primer and paint on this, and it's ready to reinstall. So that pretty much does it for this one. I'll probably get a couple of shots with some paint on it once it's installed. But for now, we're calling it done. If you enjoyed the video and you like the channel, please hit subscribe. It doesn't cost you anything, but it does help our algorithm. Gets us noticed by YouTube and recommended to other viewers. Please leave a like, comment down below, and we'll see you again soon.